The best Yu-Gi-Oh channel!
Speaking of memorable moments, we are
Let's create some new ones.
about to, yes, we are about to start the top 8. You can see that the judges are not fans of the Chicago Bulls. Federico is gonna be fine even without the he's not happy with his haircut. Well, I got a haircut just for this event, so I know how he feels, to be honest.
I was going to and never got around to it. That was on. It was on the to-do list, and it just kept falling lower and lower on the list. And it's just like, oh, okay.
Also, some hot news for you guys. Since Paolo Pacciana is out of the competition, we are able to publish the contents of his entire deck already. You can find it on the written coverage once again. There might even be a link in the Twitch chat. I'm not sure, but
Is it his whole deck list that was in there?
yes, the whole deck list, all 54 cards, and I think James should get a standing ovation for that, taking them all down.
Did we ever find out who won between Tom Payne and?
Yes, that is still the question for me. We are gonna find out, definitely.
Okay, so while Oliver is taking a look at that, I'll talk about the start here. Joshua Schmidt, Shaddoll Fusion, Shaddoll Beast, Allure of Darkness, Vanity's Emptiness, and an Artifact Morale Tag. Federico, on the other hand, Shaddoll Hedgehog, Shaddoll Dragon, Chaos' Shadow Monarch, which is incredibly powerful as we've seen, Vanity's Emptiness, and that Super Polymerization. And we're going to see a Vanity's Emptiness and a Shaddoll Hedgehog being set first for Federico. Allure of Darkness coming down for Joshua, giving him 2 more cards at the cost of the Shaddoll Beast in his hand. I see a double Cyclone, which now immediately makes the Artifact Morale Tag a very real card.
And he activates it. So what we just described, the scenario that comes to, well, he ended up in quite a few times, happened just there. On the other hand, he's lost his soul mystical space typhoon, and I want to put that in quotation marks, but of course I can't. So for the rest of the for this duel, Joshua Schmidt doesn't have an immediate answer to face down spell and trap cards, does he?
Joshua, he has the Shaddoll Dragons, which are very, very important because they can harass the spell and trap zone and allow you to get plays through that you normally just wouldn't be able to resolve. Okay, so Construct is sending, I believe that's a Shaddoll Falco. We've got a little bit of glare on the card. And yeah, the sequence of plays ultimately ends up with a Shaddoll Falco on the field and a Squamata in the graveyard.
Right, so once again it seems like Joshua is pulling ahead against Federico.
Hey, he's starting off really well. The double Cyclone putting the weight in. And I see 2 Morale Attacks in the graveyard for Joshua Schmidt, which means those 3 copies of Artifact Sanctum are not looking so great in the deck. Well, the first one is okay, and any one after that is not so great, but I'm sure Joshua's pretty comfortable holding out on that one.
Yeah, and we see Joshua just like not even, once again he's tributing his special summoned monster for the Shaddoll Beast.
And I really want to point out that he's, again, has the Vanity's Emptiness and still chooses to tribute his Construct.
So he seems to be 100% sure.
That this is the
I gotta say,
time.
1000% sure that this is the better choice. And we once again have the deck lists for you. Like we said, we looked over them yesterday already, but we obviously can't remember all of them. I think that was earlier today, to be honest.
Okay, so we do see the Shaddoll Fusion, and it's going to force Federico to commit his resources. But Vanity's Emptiness coming up.
There's a. What did Federico put face down? That is.
That would be Super Polymerization.
Ah, there we go. Once again, the card. I mean, but for the time being, as long as Vanity's Emptiness is active, it's not going to help him much.
Yeah, and unless the Vanity's Emptiness gets switched off, and in which case Super Polymerization can cause Joshua some headaches.
But does Joshua want to get rid of the card in this situation?
Well, he might want to press forward. He has a Shaddoll Fusion in his hand. Face down on the field, he has a Shaddoll Falco, so He has got access to special summons. The question is, does he want to do it right now?
All right, there's the answer to that question. He is feeling confident that he can send something to the graveyard.
Yep. So this will ultimately end up in Vanity's Emptiness being destroyed. And yeah, he takes out the Shaddoll, the super polymerization, before he gives his opponent the 2 dark monsters necessary to, or the dark and the light monster. The saving grace there being that Mathematician is an earth monster. In next challenges, that won't be the case, but because there will be an earth Shaddoll fusion monster, allowing that super polymerization chain to happen. But in the present, that's not an option.
But once again, I think you gotta give credit to Joshua Schmidt. Like,
he's playing this so well.
yeah, he's like locking his opponent out of the game. Basically, it's like such a one-sided affair here. He like just, I mean, looking at the cards on the table, it's 4-0, and lots of damage coming in as well.
Yeah, 22, 15, 600.
So he's still got a second copy of Vanity's Emptiness that's gonna go face down now.
So he has another way of countering his opponent.
So this is really once again not looking good for Federico Zoppini.
Federico, he has Shaddoll Dragon, Shaddoll Beast, Kiss. Only one of those cards. Okay, he drew a Wife Buster, which is a life card in this situation.
And an important card, because otherwise that really wouldn't look all too well. There's the Caius, very important card, and it's gonna take
out
care of
Shaddoll Beast, which has been identified as the very, very important card.
Yep.
Because it lets you get through that deck so fast, and it lets you draw out of hands that you feel are weaker, and lets you see more Vanity's Emptiness, and just card draw is so good. And we're going to see a Monarch again throwing its weight around as Joshua's field takes quite a beating. And the Mathematician left in play, not the... so he's denying Joshua the draw.
Right. One thing that you guys on the stream already know, but we just learned, is that Eugen Heid, the reigning European champion, has also advanced to the semifinals. So good luck to him.
No polymerizations in the finals.
Yes.
Regular polymerization.
Nah, that's a shame. He's going up against Federico Pastore, which will be his hardest match yet, I take it. But back to this match, where Federico Zoppini actually came back strong thanks to the Caius and his dragon. And suddenly he flipped the table once again, and Joshua Schmidt is just left with a Mathematician and the Vanity's Emptiness.
Yeah, well, he has Shaddoll Fusion, but he doesn't have the options to do it yet. Again, next challenges he will, but in this situation he's going to be walling up. Monarchs, clearly the most underrated cards this event. Every single time I've seen one come down, it's been spectacular.
But he's got Sinister Shadow Games.
That's really good for him, especially with the Shaddoll Falco
on the field, yeah. So what is Federico? He's
Shaddoll Beast being set face down. There's a Solemn Warning in hand as well, but he's running dangerously low on life points.
Yes, with 3,700. I mean, of course, you can still use that, but after that, I was about to say there are no soul charge plays for him. He doesn't even run the card, which is very, very interesting. He only runs one.
Oh, you see how fast Federico, not happy, slamming the Solemn Warning into his graveyard because of the Sinister Shadow Games. Very, very visibly displeased by Joshua's game plan here, but it's to be expected when you're playing against Shaddolls. That's a card that's being played off is free off by everyone except for Tom Payne, as far as I'm aware. It's a very real possibility.
Yeah, and Federico is like, how come you got all the answers? And Joshua's like, that's just the way it is.
I've played the game to this point to make sure that these cards have the best impact.
Yeah. Now he gets to flip his beast, and it once again, it looks really, really good. So Joshua seems once again very relaxed. Federico is known for his temper. I don't want to say that's a bad thing, because it can really work in his favor, but it can also cause him to like loses focus when he really shouldn't. Right now, it's once again important that he doesn't go on tilt, even though it seems like Joshua Schmidt has all the answers and is able to dictate the pace of this game.
It's incredibly frustrating to be sat against an opponent, and it just looks like he has every answer, but he's just playing these cards so well. He's leaving his options as open as possible to make sure that he can have the biggest impact with the way the cards are coming out, and it just looks like to Fred, it could look like to most people, oh, there's just some luck being in there.
Yeah. That's also the thing, like, Joshua Schmidt never looks like he's happy.
It's an
When he's
incredible
playing that.
poker face.
He's
Sorry, new challengers. I keep saying next challengers, which was the release over the pond in the OCG region, but it's the
new challenges.
Yeah,
You
the new
already
challenges.
dealt with the next few guys, so there are some new guys round the corner to challenge you.
yeah, new. Everything's new.
So still back to the game. Like I said, even though Joshua is having all the options and everything is playing out in his favor.
Armidi's so good, Synchro. It denies the flip summon and Volcasaurus being used.
And once again, Federico saw the writing on the wall. He was like, yeah, I know this is coming. And he didn't approve, of course, but there was like nothing he could do. So he just drew for his turn.
Yeah. I wish I could have showed you the Armides again, because we've not really seen it. There's a Shaddoll core for Joshua Schmidt. All Federico has is a Shaddoll Dragon and a White Dragon Wyver Buster, and he's going to be picking up his cards.
Once again, commanding fashion, Joshua Schmidt. I really got to say, it's if he's going to go up against Federico Pastore, judging by the way that Federico Pastore tore through that top 8 match, I think it would be a meeting of the Masters in the finals of Joshua, who seems like he's never skipping a beat, and Federico outsmarting his opponent, Paolo Pacciana, back in the top 8. But once again, don't count out Federico Zoppini. He's come back from defeat before.
Yeah, he could win the next 2 and go into the finals. That was incredible for Joshua. Even the Armides there, because when it attacks, your opponent can activate cards or effects until the engine's damage step. Denies his opponent even flip effects.
And you gotta say, like, if there is one player who looks like the emotions are getting the better of him, it is Federico Zoppini. Joshua Schmidt looks like a, I don't want to say, he looks like he took the Ice Bucket Challenge and he came out successful.
Is it okay to say cool as a cucumber, or is that like too retro?
No, I think that's still cool in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah, pouring a cold bucket of water over you is not, it's cold.
So both players taking next to no time to look at their respective side decks. Once again, we know for a fact that Joshua Schmidt has the tech of the weekend, different dimension ground, 2 copies in his side deck. He's also got super polymerizations there, which will probably get introduced to the main deck. He's running
2 copies of Defusion as well, which has multiple applications. One, he can break up his opponent's fusion monster to allow him to get back into the game, but he can also do it in the middle of the battle phase on his own monsters to allow for 2 more attacks. And Shaddoll Beast's 2200 attack is incredibly high and is frequently used as a fusion material. Really interesting.
Yeah, Federico on the other hand has a very it's not one of these side decks where he's running 15 one-offs. Instead, he's got 3 Maxi, 3 Chain Disappearance, 3 Mystical Space Typhoon, 3 Raikou Lightsworn Hunter, a card we discussed yesterday, earlier today, when they went up against each other, because when it can really deal with a lot of the problems or the troublemakers for the Shaddolls.
Yeah, the guys shuffled up very, very fast and have actually gone straight into the game. For those of you wondering, Shaddoll Dragon, Sinister Shadow Game, Super Polarization, Armageddon Knight, and Mathematician for Federico for his opening turn. Playing the Mathematician to send the Falco to the graveyard to get the effect. Joshua Schmidt, seeing one of his side deck cards, Defusion. So he has Shaddoll Fusion, Shaddoll Dragon, Shaddoll Falco, Sinister Shadow Games, Defusion, and Shaddoll Fusion. And the interesting thing with the Defusion is, he can deny his opponent the opportunity to get the free fusion summon by doing his stuff, then breaking his monster up. And he can even get 2 monsters from his deck back into play.
Right.
Because he plays the fusion for free, then defuses it.
Right. But this time, Federico has a much, much better start. The Sinister Shadow Games allowed him to accelerate into something, and he just drew into a Vanity's Emptiness, if I'm not all too mistaken.
Yep,
Yes, he
Vanity's
did
Emptiness
indeed.
just loading in there.
And so you can see his cards in hand on the right hand side. Once again, the Vanity's Emptiness, one of the cards that made the biggest impression on the competitive scene this weekend.
Okay, Shaddoll Dragon being sent to the graveyard, and Diffusion, the side deck card
Side
being
deck, yes.
exposed. And that's an Arcanite Magician in attack mode.
That is definitely interesting.
Yeah, we also see a Burst Rebirth for Federico now after he's flipped his many search effects and card drawing effects. Oh, Joshua Smith's Spell and Trap Zone being the target of all of the aggression here.
But Joshua does have a response to the activation of that Synchro Monsters effect, and Federico seemingly not too unhappy for once, but also not happy, of course, that he did target the card that can be activated in response rather than the other one first.
Yeah, the situation that here is, I think, regardless of what card comes out for Joshua, what he's going to do is to see how he can make his next turn much better, because he is going to lose his other face down Spell and Trap, which is his Shaddoll Fusion, which would have been a free fusion considering the Arcanite Magician is in play. So yeah, he's going for the Shaddoll Beast and Shaddoll Falco play.
So our straw poll indicates that the majority of our voters are also thinking that Joshua Schmidt will once again come out successful against Federico Zoppini. I think the last time they went up against each other early today, it was a much more one-sided affair where the majority of votes were actually going in Joshua Schmidt's favor, like the vast majority of votes.
Oh wow, Dark Arm Dragon coming down for Federico. And Super Polymerization set face down. Armageddon Knight being summoned to
Just
place another
giving
Dark
him-
Monster
yeah.
in the graveyard.
Giving him more fodder to trigger the effect of his one of the many boss monsters he has, but the one that is staying in the main deck.
Yep, and the Shaddoll Falco has already been used this turn, so if it's destroyed, again, it won't be coming back. Super Polymerization.
Well, that certainly looks like a very promising field, and Joshua Schmidt still.
Yeah, he's picking up.
Yeah, I was about to say he's still not shaking or anything, but he knows that it's over. So
His opponent pressed really, really hard on there.
Yep.
Not a whole lot he could have done differently, to be honest.
yeah, it seemed definitely like the right call for Federico to go all in here, and well, Joshua was not able to fight back here. So now he's once again siding, and you can tell by the speed that Joshua has when he's going to side deck. He knows exactly what he's going to do here.
Yeah, all the cards for the matchup is already in his deck. What he's now considering is cards that are better going first than second, is what he's considering.
Right.
Because he already has everything he needs for the matchup in there. Why
Yes.
wouldn't he have that there? So it's just a case of like, oh, I think he took Diffusion out.
Yeah, maybe he only wanted to use it with the element of surprise. And now that Federico has seen it in the match, he's no longer confident that it's going to be the best choice here.
Yeah, that's a high possibility.
Federico, on the other hand, did not access his side deck in between rounds.
No, he's very confident that he made all the right decisions.
Yeah, and he also, for the time being, she should have the momentum.
Yeah, there's a
And-
handshake.
Yeah, so we've had this before. Federico Zoppini was in a final against Jack Bruno at a YCS, and he lost in the finals, and he smashes his fist on the table because he was upset, clearly. But the very next split second, it didn't take a full second. He was like lifting his hand and extending it to shake his opponent's hand. So he's not I don't want to say he's a not sportsman-like player. He's got a temper
It's
and
passion.
yeah, and sometimes he's got a passion for the game, obviously, and sometimes his passion gets the better of him. So I think you can cut the guy some slack.
Yeah.
And
Joshua starting lineup: Shaddoll Dragon, Shaddoll Hedgehog, Shaddoll Core, Artifact Sanctum, Breakthrough Skill. pretty
That
reasonable
seems
start.
like a very good opening.
Yeah, he's going to be seeing his Shaddoll fusion as long as he can get the hedgehog flipped, and he has breakthrough skill to prevent maybe a fast Caius play, which is very, very unlikely. Going to see Armageddon Knight being shut down by breakthrough skill. Shaddoll Squamata, Shaddoll Dragon, Mind Control, Clips Wyvern, and Shaddoll Falco.
There is the
For
Mind
Federico.
Control once again. The card that made
Oh,
all
that's
the difference in the
so
top 8
good.
match. Yes.
So brutal, because the breakthrough skill already being used on Armageddon Knight, perhaps preemptively, and now the Shaddoll fusion, which Joshua Schmidt was almost guaranteed, has been given straight to Federico. This is huge.
This is a very big deal. Yes. So Mind Control is apparently one of the best cards for that particular matchup when you're going up against when you are playing Shaddolls and you are playing against Shaddolls. There's always going to be a flip effect monster, isn't there?
Yeah, frequently called the mirror match. If you're a new player that's just tuning in for the late stage of the tournaments, it means when your opponent is playing the same deck as you. For all the veterans, yeah, you're familiar with that.
All the veterans are like, he's gonna explain that again. Why?
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. That we got the new people here too. We have to be accessible.
Yes. So, L Shaddoll construct, hitting play. Joshua for the first time switching his position, but going right back into this relaxed state. But he needs to be upset here, shouldn't he?
Yeah, because he's so fast to use the breakthrough skill that it may have just cost him the game.
And Federico, you can tell he's on a hot roll right now. He wants to have his deck back right after he like offered it to cut. So now he's doing some calculations and just quickly checking who attacks first. But that was not much of a question here.
Joshua deciding, does he flip the Artifact Sanctum here and take out the construct, which would shut down the entire battle phase for Federico. He doesn't have any quick play spells or trap cards. What do you do, Joshua? The Shaddoll core in defense mode is also a potential option after the construct attacks, but if players seem to learn a very long time ago, attacking small to large with your monster attack values, is better to play around cards like Gore's Emissary of Darkness. While it's not a factor here, people still by reflex attack small to large.
And yesterday we saw something where when you attack with Blackluster Soldier first, it's not a good idea when your opponent has a Battle Fader, because you don't get to use the other effect of Blackluster Soldier in your main phase too.
Yeah, because you've already tried to attack.
So this is the order of attacking is very important. Such a small thing it seems, but it can make all the difference. But well, attacks have connected. 3,800 life points remaining for Joshua Schmidt, who really needs to come up with something after the first game where he was winning in such a convincing manner. We didn't expect to see that, did we?
No, this is interesting as well. Joshua waiting until the end phase to use Artifact Sanctum, where he could have... okay, so he's destroying his Shaddoll Hedgehog to make sure that he can get the surge from it.
That's all very interesting, because he just took 5,200 life points.
For this
4,200 life points, yeah.
Because he could have took down this entire battle phase by destroying the construct. None of the other monsters can attack over Morale Tax. So this is an incredibly important search to Joshua. It's worth 5 monsters, almost a 5 monster soul charge.
It's worth half his life points. That's very, very interesting in my opinion. Speaking of soul charge, something we didn't point out so far, Joshua Schmidt is not running any copies in his main deck. Just like Federico. And he's also not running any in the side deck, which is very likely. So both of these players do not rely on soul charge, which is very interesting, because I know quite a few veterans of the game have tackled this format by asking the question, which deck can make the most out of soul charge, and then basically like inventing a deck from the other way around.
Yeah, it's you start with the free spell cards, and it's like, what's the best I can get from this? And we saw from the North American WCQ, Sylvan's being an incredibly popular deck. From the European WCQ, we had a lot of success with, well, there was Dragon Rulers that were being played quite heavily because of the way they could speed through their deck and soul charge on the first turn.
Right.
We saw some Sylvans. We saw it in Mermels. We saw massive soul charge plays, but the hype seems to have calmed down on that.
Yes. I mean, after this event, there will be quite a few people who are thinking about running a deck without any soul charges. Well, what we've also seen is 3 polymerization,
Yeah.
and 0 copies of Sinister Shadow games. So there is a lot of innovation even inside an archetype.
Yeah, you get this situation where you see the decks so often that you believe there's only one way to play it,
Yep.
and then you completely miss out on these other little avenues which can actually create a different play style that makes your theme work against what people are expecting.
Yes. So back to the game, you might be wondering once again, why do I see these 2 guys rather than the 2 guys in the field of cards, which is, well, seemingly much more interesting. The question is, we once again have a judge call with, it's about timing once again, which a chain of effects.
Yeah, I believe it's he's asking if I destroy the hedgehog, do I get to search my deck? I think that was the question.
Yes. And judge ruled, and that didn't take long, but
Oh, that could have been
since
a
both
question.
players are waiting for a second, we have to assume that a appeal has been called by one of the players, most likely the one who's not happy with the ruling that had been given.
Yeah, I see very few players appealing a ruling that goes in their favour. It's like, oh yeah, your card works like this. Oh, well, hold on a second, judge. I know this favours me, but is that right?
Right. So our head judges for the event, we got Patrice on the one hand, and I can't come up with the name right now.
I interviewed him yesterday. It's,
well, so you guys definitely know the name of our head judge.
we've seen the video quite a few times.
Once or twice, I think. Yeah. So I think the head judge is going to be in the feature match area any second now. In case you're wondering what is happening at the other match, why we don't have it live, we can give you a full account of what happened after the round concludes in our written coverage once again. If you're watching this on Twitch, it's going to be below the video. There's a link to the event coverage page. If you're watching this on the official website, upper right corner, right over the video, there's a link to the event information page and the written coverage page. So once again, we got the head judge at the table. We don't have sound, but we don't need sound because once again, there's a lot of pointing going on. And Patrice is just reading over the card again. Once again, some good advice that we have been giving frequently throughout this weekend.
Players and judges. Patrice is actually awesome. He speaks German, English, and Spanish all fluently. He's so good at these events because you go to a table and it's like Deutsch, ni Hispanola, si, or oh hey, what's up?
Yeah,
you know,
pretty much, yeah. Although some people would argue that his German isn't really German, but
is it not?
That's a whole different story because he's coming from the southern part of Germany.
Oh, I didn't realize that was a thing. I lived in Germany for
oh yeah,
a while.
that is a thing. I mean, I'm also coming from the southern part, which is funny because I'm from an area where they are very famous for rolling the R and sometimes maybe even introducing R's into card names like Windra.
Yeah,
but
well,
it's been you who's doing that the whole weekend, just like Federico Zoppini suddenly became Federico Zoppini.
Yeah, that's southwest of England, Bristol's where I'm from, in case anybody originally wondered.
All right, so it is, in fact, Joshua Schmidt's turn. Everything resolved in the way that he wanted it to, so he can sport his, hopefully, big comeback, looking at it from his perspective.
Yeah.
And
Michael, the light swan, the arch light swan coming down. I'll just bring that one up for you guys to take out the Shaddoll construct.
yeah, and once again, you have to ask your question. The question, when you're watching this game, was this worth 4,200 life points? More than half your life points. And Joshua Schmidt, he seems to have no doubt that this was the right play.
Okay, he's got the Shaddoll core and breakthrough skill to back him up. Let's see how confident he's feeling in just a moment. In case you're wondering about Federico, Shaddoll Squamata, Shaddoll Dragon, Shaddoll Fusion in his hand. He's going to be playing one of those fusions and getting a free fusion because his opponent controls an extra deck monster.
Right. There's also a discussion in the chat about the ruling that has been given. And the big question is, like, has it been ruled the right way? We have to assume that was the case because a head judge has been called, read over the card once again, and just made sure to, ensure a fair environment here.
Yeah, he made the decision, and the players have to proceed as you would, as you do if you play in one of these large tournaments. The head judge's ruling is final.
Yes. So Federico, oh Jesus, now I'm starting that. So Federico, once again going for El Shaddoll construct and taking, but it's met with breakthrough skills, so it cannot simply take out something.
I think Joshua used the breakthrough skill on Shaddoll Falco, even though it's already used its effect this turn. He wants to the Shaddoll construct, if it attacks his Michael, will destroy it with his own effect, and no life point damage will be done. If he negates the Shaddoll construct, he just gives up life points.
Right. Sorry for that, but that reminds me a little bit of the last match that we saw, where one player tried to force the other player into a situation where there's a big monster on the field that he simply has no answer for remaining in his deck.
Yeah, we're going to see Go-Yo Guardian. It's back, and it's not stealing a Stardust Dragon, but it is stealing a dragon.
And you have to wonder, like, oh, once again.
I can always put comic book.
Yeah, we should probably put Michael up again.
Yep, you just put a comic book yoink right here.
So once again, one of the new cards from the Lightsworn structure deck. In case you are not familiar with it, once per turn you can pay 1,000 life points, target one card on the field, banish it. That is one of the main reasons why it's getting played. It has a few more effects, but let's not forget that something is, quite a few things are going on the field, so let's skip that for now. Federico has assembled a big field once again. Can he protect it is question number one.
He has in his hand Shaddoll Dragon, Shaddoll Fusion, Shaddoll Falco.
So the answer is no to that question. On the other hand, can Joshua Schmidt find something to work through that big field?
It's incredibly intimidating. That field would wipe you out in a single turn, even if you're at full life, I believe. That's 28, 28, 56, plus 26.
So it's clutch time for Joshua Schmidt, who just checked once again what face down card Federico Zoppini has. It's a Shaddoll Beast. And did he draw for his turn yet? No.
He has Shaddoll Dragon, Shaddoll Fusion, Mathematician. And he's taking a moment to stretch out because he's got a free Shaddoll Fusion and he has to consider exactly how he's going to get out of this. If he can.
If he can, yes. So you gotta ask yourself the question, what would you do? Or, well, one thing I recommend in these situations, the best question to ask is, what would Yugi do?
It's a very safe question.
So, no surprise there, Shaddoll Fusion gets activated. It is basically free for Joshua. He runs through his deck, and Federico is just a little nervous, I guess. He's looking at the life points once again, making sure that he's out of reach for Joshua. It certainly looks that way, judging by the field.
Okay, there's a play, I think. We'll see how Joshua goes with this.
What is the Shaddoll Core doing for him in this situation?
Shaddoll Core, it can be treated as any attribute for a fusion summon, and it's also a monster with 1450 attack and 1950 defense, I believe. Which can put extra damage out in the battle phase, and it can protect your life points. Is it a level 4 monster? Well, that comes into play. If you could just get the text up there.
So we got the Shaddoll Fusion. Shaddoll Fusion is not the right card, of course. We want the Shaddoll Core.
I think it's a level 4 monster.
It's a level 9 monster.
Oh, it's level 9 monster. Okay, that's weird. I was thinking for a second there. What level is it? It's very important because he does have a Shaddoll Dragon in his hand, which could have opened a possible Exiton play, but that's not going to be possible with a level 9. It's such a random level.
Yeah, it's such a high level, though. So, Joshua Schmidt not quite done just yet. Once again, working through his... that's his graveyard, right?
No, that's his deck.
That's his deck, right.
His deck
so confusing. Well, yeah, exactly. That should be on top.
Yep, Shaddoll Beast going to graveyard, and also
Shaddoll
Shaddoll
Hedgehog.
Hedgehog.
Joshua Schmidt indicating with the finger pointing once again. Effects are going to trigger, and now we're back to the deck.
Yeah, he drew a Vanity's Emptiness, but that's a little bit late now. He would have probably
Yes.
really would have appreciated being able to stop all of those extra deck monsters on Federico's.
I think that is like one of the first situations we've had this weekend where you really want to draw a life card, and Vanity's Emptiness is not the card you're looking for.
Yeah, it's actually the too late to matter card.
Yeah, and this is something we haven't really tackled this weekend, in my opinion. Did we ever consider this, that this card could be like dead? Because usually you always have a way of trying to come back. So
Okay,
sure,
there is a play.
there is obviously a play. And what a play
making
it
the
is.
Shaddoll core to tribute for
Shaddoll Beast.
Shaddoll Beast. This will allow a bit of cleanup to happen for Joshua.
Right. So once again, his Michael is returning to his graveyard. When it is destroyed, you can target any number of other Light Sworn monsters in your graveyard, so that doesn't really help you. You could shuffle them back into the deck and gain life points, 300 for each of them. So no help there. But Joshua has like tied the whole thing a little bit again. It's they are head to head, but Federico with 3 cards in hand.
Shaddoll Dragon, Shaddoll Fusion, which is going to be a free fusion, and Shaddoll Falco. There's a Vanity's Emptiness for Joshua,
which is going to once again prove key. Interestingly enough, we just said, yeah, it's a little late for that, but it's still going to put in some work for him.
Yeah, well, there's a 50-50 chance if the Shaddoll Beast has been flipped, he'll draw 2 cards and send 1 card from his hand to the graveyard, and he sends a Shaddoll Dragon and hits Shaddoll Fusion, so that Vanity's Emptiness is still capable of locking out Federico.
Isn't that 4 cards in hand? Ah, yeah. There we go. Here we got the current. Yeah, we were a little bit behind on our app, but now we got all the cards in his hand, so he's got even more options than we thought. And the Foolish Burial is really a door opener here.
Yeah, he's got Foolish Burial, Black Dragon, Colossus Serpent, Sinister Shadow Games, Shaddoll Falco, and Shaddoll Fusion. And I think we're going to see the Vanity's Emptiness being flipped here.
Yes.
The question is, did that turn 1 breakthrough skill put Joshua too far behind on the Armageddon night? Would you guys have done the same if you were playing? That's a very good question for you guys.
Yeah, and that might as well been the first possible mistake that we have indicated from Joshua Schmidt here.
Yeah. Well, if his opponent didn't have the mind control, it would have slowed Federico
Tremendously.
But then when he did have the mind control, it looked like the wrong play. But again, that's with perfect information.
Yeah, you probably don't expect the mind control to be introduced from the side deck. I mean, Joshua Schmidt.
Did both players
No,
side in?
That's what I was getting at. Joshua Schmidt is not playing mind control, so maybe he didn't anticipate the card. Maybe his group didn't come up with the card during the testing process, or indicate it as a good card for the Shaddoll.
Yeah, they might have tested it and written it off and said it's hoping to get lucky with it, and didn't pan out.
So Federico has managed to once again empty the table of all cards, which is quite an accomplishment. He's still very far ahead with cards in hand. He's got 5, whereas Joshua only has 3, a Mathematician, a Shaddoll Fusion, and a Shaddoll Dragon. Federico is not going to deal any more damage this turn because he already entered his battle phase, which is good news for Joshua, who's currently sitting on just 2,200 life points. But there are other things that Federico can do that will threaten Joshua. This doesn't look like it, but well, you never know with Shaddoll and face-on monsters. It's really good for you.
Yes, and there's a Sinister Shadow Games going face down, and either when my app updates, I'll tell you which cards were actually set to the field. Mystical Space Typhoon being drawn by Joshua.
Who once again has to decide, am I feeling lucky?
Yeah, well, that's exactly what setting either. It's most likely Foolish Burial that's been set by Federico. No, he set Sinister Shadow Games, Shaddoll Fusion, and Shaddoll Falcon. So yeah, the Mystical Space Typhoon. Yeah, well, even if you play it and you hit the Sinister Shadow Games, that's going to be really bad for you.
Yeah. So
He's probably holding it off for the Vanity's Emptiness here. He's not going to blindly play it when he needs to resolve that fusion.
no, I can't imagine that to be the case.
So that's something for you guys at home. When do you use it?
Yeah.
Is very
This
key.
seems like the best way to deal with it, by using your Shaddoll Fusion, special summoning Winder, and with the dragon that got discarded, I think, he took out the...
Yeah, he took out the opponent's Shaddoll Fusion.
So, good hit by Joshua. And now he's going to attack, which is also all fine and good for him.
It's the Mathematician attacking. This is something that people were discussing. How important is it that the Mathematician's extra 100 attack points destroys the Shaddoll Falco? I believe the Mathematician just attacked. I may have missed that. I was just using the app real quick.
No, it certainly looks that way because it was pushed to the front. So
Yeah.
both players frequently checking the contents of both graveyards at this time, which is not that surprising, because there are a couple of questions that you have to ask yourself here. One, what does my opponent still have in his deck? And two, what options does he have with the cards in his graveyard?
Yeah, is there anything in there that he could use to get out of this? And more importantly, how live are my opponents out to the threats that I play?
Right. So Federico loses his monster on the field, but gains a new one.
Yeah, it's a Shaddoll Construct, El Shaddoll Construct being special summoned by the Shaddoll Falco.
So don't wonder about the differently colored sleeve. That's all fine and good.
It stands out a little bit.
Yes, not just a little. And Federico drew for his turn, and now he's got, there is his hand for you guys. Foolish Burial, Black Dragon, Collapse Serpent, Shaddoll Fusion, and Shaddoll Hedgehog.
I don't know how many dragons are left in either player's deck, because it has been shooting cards out left, right, and center. And without being able to check the graveyard to count, there's only one special summon allowed this turn for Federico. Yeah. How does he play here? He has got that very powerful construct face down, which he will be able to flip summon this turn. And I think time's just been called for this duel.
Yes, indeed. Well, I think for the other duel that is still underway. So this duel might take have like 2 or 3 more minutes, but we're very, very close to the timeout once again.
I think the dice just got placed on the table. So
Oh,
I'm
right.
Not sure if that's what that means.
No, I guess it is, yeah. So we were just like 2 minutes behind the other semi-final that was underway. And, well, now we are down to the very last turns in this match. Although it certainly seems like an affair that could end at like any moment now.
Yeah, the life points are certainly low enough for Joshua Schmidt to be taken out of contention.
And you continuously, I wonder, was it the right play to like sacrifice 4,200 life points that early in the match?
Yeah, that's a question that he's probably going to ponder when he watches this back. Like, was it the right play to get this together? And Eclipse Wyvern being banished, which will add Dark Arm Dragon to the hand of Federico.
By the way, this just in, we know that the other Federico Pastore, overcame Eugen Heid in the other semi-finals. So one Italian is definitely going to go to the finals. And the question is, is he going to be joined by Federico Zoppini, which is definitely going to be good for the guy who's engraving the trophy, because he can already start with the first name.
Yeah, he's already on top of that.
Or
we don't actually engrave those trophies, but yeah.
Or, well, is it going to be Joshua Schmidt from Germany? Right. So still Federico's turn, and now we proceed with the battle phase, and that gets him ahead once again.
Yeah, El Shaddoll constructs effect triggering and preventing Federico from actually inflicting any damage. Then Mathematician going down, allowing an extra draw for Joshua Schmidt. So Joshua Schmidt, 2 cards, well, and the Shaddoll Fusion. Oh, it's an excellent card that he's drawn. It's a super polymerization.
Yeah, Joshua Schmidt, although he's done well at the European Championship and at the World Championship as well, he's never made it to the finals of a YCS before. I mean, I don't think he's going to mind too much because he was in the top 4 2 events in a row in YCS London and YCS Turin, but he's going to be like, I want to make it at least once. And
ooh, he's drawn Blackluster Soldier.
This
and
could be his
he's
shot.
got super polymerization as well. So if he's going to steal the game, his opponent only has a face-down Sinister Shadow Games. And he has a face-down monster, which I believe is Shaddoll Hedgehog. It's not actually, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. That's his field. So Joshua found the right answer, didn't he?
It puts him in a reasonable position.
He still got the MST to take out the Sinister Shadow Games.
And force its activation. The question is, does he do that, or does he hold out in case there's a Vanity's Emptiness hidden there? Joshua very carefully considering. He knows the most risky play is to throw his remaining cards at this table, but he's trying to see, is there a safer play that he can make? Or is there one that's potentially safer that gives him a better payoff? He's considering all of his options before he commits to this. Because there is no going back.
There goes the MST, and it takes on the Sinister Shadow Games, which does not get chained. Federico probably doesn't see a reason to chain it here, does he?
It's very likely he might not even have any targets left. This game has been going on for quite a while.
Oh.
That's possible. That might be unlikely. I'm not entirely sure about going through the entire contents of his graveyard. Or he might just decide, actually, I don't need it.
So once again, Joshua needs to go over the graveyard, and he shakes his head because it's so hard to keep track of what is going on here with, well, what options are left. And this is the first time we see an emotion from Joshua Schmidt in this match, in my opinion. He really has to think hard about his next move because it's going to be the deciding move of the game.
Yeah, he's considering a situation. He plays Super Polymerization, fuses his opponent's construct and Black Dragon together to make his own construct. His opponent will then get Shaddoll Fusion back. That might be why Sinister Shadow Games wasn't used. And then even if he summons Blackluster Soldier, banishes the face-down card, attacks with the construct, his opponent then makes his own Shaddoll Fusion. He could fuse during his opponent's turn, but I'm not entirely sure how Joshua wants to play out of this one.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, and he's considering quite a few options here.
He will need to make a play, though. He has been taking quite a while with this.
Yes.
And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a slow play warning issued if he takes too much longer.
Yes, there's only so much time you get for, even when it is the most important move of the day for you. You're not going to get an hour to think over it and go through all the options.
Yeah, even if we're an end of match procedure, penalties can still be issued for slow play. It's not as soon as the time's out, you've got as much time in the world as you want to finish the game out.
Yes, so Joshua has checked the contents of both graveyards repeatedly, so he should know them inside out by now. And I'm thinking this is the time for him. No, he must have skipped over a card there.
Yeah, if I was a judge, I would be issuing the penalty now, but which is a bit demoralizing to get. But
so there is the Blackluster Soldier, and you can't help but watch Federico Zoppini going back a little bit. He definitely did not like to see that card here, and
well, the potential to swing the game is pretty.
Just 2 cards left for Joshua Schmidt, but those 2 cards are that
Shaddoll
good.
core and super polymerization. Does he use it now, or does he save it for his opponent's potential comeback play? He can't attack into the construct. The construct will just trigger and take it out.
So there is the super polymerization. Joshua Schmidt is all in. And now that he has revealed his hand, his opponent is gonna, well, Federico is gonna see if his hand will hold in this situation.
Yeah, he's right now. Federico is deciding, if I survive this, how do I win the game?
Yes.
Because there is actually 5,800 attack exactly on the field, but that one Shaddoll Hedgehog being able to block out some of the damage will stop Federico losing the game. I think it's a question. I'm not entirely sure what the question could be here. Maybe is it mandatory? But then they could read that from the card text.
That is, yeah. So Federico was about to pick up his deck, go searching, and then a question was asked if whether that is mandatory or not. But so you guys didn't miss anything. We just.
It's probably because Joshua's identified he doesn't have any Shaddoll monsters left.
Ah, okay.
And he then ends up throwing a fusion away, perhaps.
He
Like
attacks
oh,
for game.
Oh,
he goes in.
He gets in.
And Federico Zoppini once again extends the hand, and Joshua Schmidt goes all in, and he wins the game there.
Yes. Oh,
Once again, Temper getting the best of him, but you really can't blame the guy. And also give credit to Joshua Schmidt not playing it safe, so to speak, by banishing the face down.